Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joe again on this Wealth Wednesday. Hope everyone's doing well wherever you are, and I hope you had a good week. I've had a pretty good week so far, and it's been kind of interesting. I moved in one of my tenants. Well, I selected a tenant yesterday, in fact, and it was very, very nice. And oh my goodness, have you ever had people cry profusely when you offer them the property to rent? So that's what happened with me yesterday. One of my properties is very touching and makes me feel good. And I'm very happy that I'm going to make a difference in hopefully a good family's lives. So congratulations to Miss Tila, and looking forward for you to move into the property soon, hopefully, and so on. So anyway, I hope everyone's doing well this Wealth Wednesday, and I went to a great event yesterday. DCCDC. It's a community development corporation in DC. They had their inaugural meeting yesterday, and I was invited down there. Did some networking, hobnobbing, and just talking. Very nice event, and thanks a lot for the folks down there, and so on. So today we're going to talk about working a 9 to 5 while investing in real estate. So all the kind of pros and cons of being a part-time or full-time real estate investor, especially during these uncertain times like we're in right now. And the reason why I chose this subject today, I was listening to his podcast earlier this week, and the host was all singing the praises about you should quit your job, and you should be a full-time real estate investor. I think he was just give a lot of misinformation in my perspective, in my opinion. And because I've been a full-time real estate investor like I am now, but I've also been a part-time. When I first started out, I had a regular job, and my story. I was sort of fixated on passive income and the need to have residual income through my rental properties. So that was my focus, and so I was a part-time real estate investor, and I did a lot of travel, not just around the country, but around the world. Sometimes I was extended travel several times. I lived in Beijing, in China, for 6 months, almost a year, and I still had real estate, properties in the U.S. while I was doing that. So I kind of traveled the world, but still had my portfolio. So you can do this. You don't need to quit your job in order to become a real estate investor. That's what we're going to kind of talk about, and really why investing in real estate, while kind of investing, having a full-time job and investing in real estate is probably a realistic combo, in my opinion, during this market shift. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and so hopefully it's going to have some food for thought. And no matter where you are, whether you are full-time, whether you're part-time, hopefully we're going to share with you some good information. And don't forget, we have a Q&A session towards the end. So I'm going to see if I can try and wrap up the conversation, the education part, a little early, so we can spend more time on Q&A. So if you got some questions, today is a day to, fire it in, and let's see how much of those we can get done. Because typically we have all the questions at the end, and we never have enough time to go through all of them. Anyway, so why do I think that a good combo is a full-time job and part-time real estate investor? Why do I think that's a really important thing? So really making that transition from full-time to a full-time real estate investor is really a major decision. It's not something that you should take lightly if you're considering that. I'm glad I did it when I did it, how I did it, but it is a major decision because it's not something that you should rush into lightly, because there are some huge implications associated with that. Obviously, it's important to understand what those implications are, that obviously the first thing is financial. There are financial implications associated with, especially if you have a full-time job, quitting that job in order to become a full-time real estate investor. And and you have to make sure that, because for many people, there's, they burn bridges and they never go back. So it's really something that you really do need to be careful about, and not something that you enter in rashly. Just because you're tired of your boss, or you're sick of the commute, or whatever it is, or you're tired of your coworkers, and so on. So really, the majority of real estate investors, the reality, the majority of real estate investors are part-time real estate investors. They have a full-time job, and that's what I did, as said before. The bottom line is that if you're going to do full-time, then you need to treat it as a business, and it will require commitment and dedication. So let's kind of talk about some of the considerations. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have the cash flow coming from your either your real estate investments or other business activities, in order to support yourself before you quit and become a full-time real estate investor. My lessons, my story, as I said before, I was working a full-time job. I was buying a house here, buying a house there, putting the system in place whereby I had a tenant. The tenant was hopefully paying the rent, and I had systems in place whereby I didn't have to, in terms of the rent collections, the maintenance, and all those day-to-day operations. I had things in place. If this happens, do this. If that happens, do that, and so forth. So I was able to kind of navigate both worlds. I needed the job because obviously I had bills to pay. I needed the job because with a job, you can qualify for financing easier. I needed the job because it allowed me to save money. So I did the house hacking strategy. I cut my expenses down to as little as possible. And the money that I was making from my job, I was able to set aside and then use that towards the down payment for future acquisitions. So that's the kind of the strategy I used. I saw the job as a means to an end. It wasn't the end in itself. It was a means to an end. And in fact, I was speaking to someone today, and we were having a conversation, and she was kind of sharing with me that about her job, where she's working right now, and how she could apply for a promotion and take on more responsibilities, and so on. And she was kind of leaning towards that or not leaning towards, kind of and I thought about that. I said, well, you got a pretty good job. You're not really stressed out. The job allows you, you're pretty much mastering that job. Therefore, you can do a lot of things almost with your eyes closed. And therefore, the time that somebody may take, it may take somebody 2 hours, let's say, to do something. It may take you an hour or 30 minutes. So it's kind of cushy. So what she was doing was, doing some side hustles and doing some other business activities with the excess time that she had. So the job wasn't the end. The job was a means to an end, and it allowed her to sort of start working her plan B, whereby in the end, hopefully she'll be able to transition from that full-time employment to become a real estate investor. So, like everything, there are pros and cons, and but you do need a solid plan. And I'm going to talk about some of those considerations, during this discussion today. So anyway, so the bottom line is this: that's the title today. And I feel that the right mix is a combination between a full-time employment and also working part-time as a real estate investor. So what are some of these part-time real estate investor tips that I can share with you? So the first thing is that it's really possible to invest in real estate as a part-timer. Okay. You don't need to be a full-time real estate investor to invest. That's the thing. And I don't want people to use as an excuse, well, my job is too stressful. Well, the reason why I can't invest is because of the travel times. Well, the reason why I can't invest is because I got my boss is too demanding. Well, all those excuses. It may be true, but at the end of the day, it's your life. And it's at the end of the day, it's up to you. If you want to pursue financial independence, then you just have to set aside the priorities to get stuff done. So it's going to depend to a certain extent. You got to become a lot more efficient on the use of your time. And you got to figure a way whereby, with the limited hours that you have available, you can get the maximum return. So, and the key, though, really the key in real estate investing is financing. And a lot of people have learned this the hard way, is that once they quit their job, their ability to get financing becomes a lot more challenging. Banks like to see W-2s. Banks like to see, steady income coming through, and they like to see a pay stub. So if you can get that pay stub, then that pay stub will make your ability to get financing a lot easier. So leverage that, and don't lose that gravy train unless you really have to, because it's also the W-2 allows you to have that reliable cash flow, that reliable income, which you can then sort of plan accordingly. So okay. So what are some of the things that you can do as a part-time real estate investor, i.e., you work a regular 9 to 5? Therefore, you can maximize your efficiency. So what are some of the tips that I would suggest that you consider? Number one would be to find a partner. Okay, there are people out there who have skill sets, skills that you don't have, or they have strengths in areas where you're not so strong in. And there are people out there who can help you on this journey. You have to go search, find those people. They're out there. If you have limited time, there are people out there who have more time. If you don't have as much money, there are people out there with money. If you don't have the expertise, there are people out there with the expertise. Okay, so there are partners that you can sort of identify who can supplement those things that you don't have, and therefore the limited amount of time that you have available can get a lot further. So so the first thing is to go out there and try to identify people who you can possibly partner with. Now you're going to say, well, Dr. Joe, where do I get these partners from? Well, there are different places. You could ask around. You can network. You can go to RIA meetings, real estate investor association meetings. You can walk around and talk around and network around and so on. There are people out there who have strengths in areas where you are weak, and you are strong in areas that they are weak, and therefore you can put together, hopefully, some constructive, solid partnership way. So that's number one. If you don't have much time, then identify a partner who does have the time. The other thing is to automate and outsource. You can't do everything. As the saying goes, no man is an island. There are people out there who are better at doing certain things than you are. And you are sort of, you can put certain systems in place. I know at one time when I first started out, for example, I used to knock on people's doors and collect rent. Okay. It's a very manual process. I know you don't believe me, but there was a time where I used to go around and collect my rent every month. Crazy. Obviously, I don't do that anymore because I use automated systems. Okay. There's Zelle. There's Cash App, there's Venmo. People deposit their rents directly into my account. So there are ways whereby you can automate certain things. If this happens, do that. And so I don't obviously have to go knocking on doors anymore because they come deposit their money with me. And as you know, I do a lot of Section 8s. So Section 8 automatically deposits the money directly into my account. So automate. And one of the things that I do in terms of automation, I wouldn't call it automation, it's more systemized. I have a home warranty on all my properties. So if something goes wrong, For example, something goes wrong with the electrical system, the plumbing system, or whatever it is. I have certain processes in place. We call the home warranty company, and they assign it to a plumbing company, and then it becomes a matter of scheduling. So I do that. The reason why I do that is because it systemizes the process. I've been before whereby something goes wrong, and I've got to start scurrying around trying to find somebody who can do it, and they're not available. And the tenant's getting upset. I'm getting frustrated, and so on. So again, these are automation. These are sort of things which I outsource. So I outsource for the most part a lot of the maintenance and repairs to third-party home warranty companies. So which then frees me up. Okay, it frees me up to do other things. It frees my mind not have to worry about who am I going to do to get this job, what am I going to do to get this job done, and so on. So identify what your strengths are, and try to outsource those things whereby you really shouldn't be doing, and there are people out there who are better at doing it than you are, and so therefore you need to sort of outsource those tasks. It's surprising how productive you can be when you stay focused on the important things, when you focus on the items, the activities, where are your strengths. Okay. I was reading a book many years ago by this guy called Chris Ducker. It's called Virtual Freedom. It's a pretty good book. And what he teaches us, or taught us in that book, was to put like a little spreadsheet together of activities that you do, that you need to do as part of your real estate business. And he kind of broke it up into 3 or 4 categories. What are the things that you are good at? Okay, so what are your strengths? What are you good at? And the next thing he did was to identify what are the things that you are not good at. Okay, so first of all, identify what you're good at. Well, next thing is identify those things that you're not good at. And then you need to do another one, those activities that you can't do. And then finally, a fourth column is those tasks which you really shouldn't be doing. Okay. So he, kind of pulled together this spreadsheet and this matrix. And one of the exercises was to kind of fill out the different cells in terms of what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you can't do, and what you shouldn't be doing. It's kind of an interesting exercise. I did that. And therefore I started identifying those things I really shouldn't be doing, and then started to try to outsource those tasks. It's a work in progress. I still do things which I really shouldn't be doing. But if you can sort of look at your day-to-day activities and see what are some of those things that you can sort of automate and possibly outsource as well. Okay, the next thing you can do is part-time is pick a niche. Pick a niche. What do I mean by that is that there are so many different segments within the real estate arena. There's wholesaling, there's fix and flip, there's there's sort of buy and hold, there's there's just so many different niches. It could be a niche in terms of a market. Some people like to do commercial, some people like to do multifamily. I like single families. Some people like to invest where they live, some people like to invest over out of town. So there are different strategies, different niches that you can sort of zero in on as a real estate investor. And and I do believe that once you decide to pick a niche and you learn that niche and try to strive to identify people who you can sort of who can help you master that, especially people who have made mistakes and therefore hopefully will share with you how to avoid those mistakes. So the idea is that if you can sort of pick a niche, focus your energies on there, then you don't get so distracted by sort of this what do you call it? Shiny object syndrome, where today I'm going to do rehabs, tomorrow I'm going to do buy and hold, tomorrow, the day after that, I'm going to do wholesaling, then I'm going to do this. You just forever chasing rainbows, I call it, and just forever being distracted. So pick something and put all your energy there. That's what you can do when, if you're going to be a part-time real estate investor. You don't have the time because of your job to do so many different things. Therefore, if you focus in a particular arena, in an area, particular niche, then you should be okay. So try sticking it out and try to master it if possible. But the important thing is to focus. Okay, pick one and then zero in on that one and try to become the best that you can and identify people who are much more experienced than you are in your particular niche, and hopefully try and figure out a win-win scenario whereby you can help them by providing some value, but hopefully they can help you and so on. So then the next thing is, if you're part-time, is to sort of find your why. Find your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you investing in real estate? Why? Okay. And I know it's a basic question, but I think it's a very important question because there are ups and downs. There are curveballs that are thrown at you. There are unexpected situations that arise. And it can be very, very frustrating. And again, in my case, my why was to have more time, more control over my time. There was a time where I kind of got tired of the travel, and it's nice going to different cities, different countries, but after a while, when I was working, um, yeah, today I was in, I don't know, Miami, and I was in San Francisco, wherever it was. It's still the same. It's like a hotel room. That's all the difference was. It wasn't that great. So I kind of got tired of travel, and I wanted to kind of stop that. And I want to have more control of my time. And but in order to do that, I needed to have that passive income. So there were times whereby tenants weren't paying me. There were times where I was having problems with the properties. They were consuming a lot of my money. There were times whereby I had to go over to these houses after work, late at night, stay over sometimes. There were times where I had, issues with contractors. I mean, there were some challenging times during that journey, and but I stayed focused on the prize, and the prize was that one day I'll be able to have my plan B, whereby my income from my rental properties equals my income from my job. That was where my focus was. So I kept on acquiring more properties, and I was able to achieve that milestone. And therefore I was able to transition from my full-time job, and it's become a full-time real estate investor. So understand your why. Why you're doing this in the first place. And just stay focused on that. Because otherwise it can be very very frustrating on this journey, and so on. Okay, so again, we're going to go to Q&A very shortly. So if you've got some questions, I'm going to try to do an extended Q&A session today. Put your questions in the comments box, and I'll try to answer as many of those today as possible. Okay, so put your questions in the comments box, and I'll see what I can do to answer some of those. So what are some of the full-time investor pros and cons? Okay, so let's say that you're saying, yeah, I want to become a full-time real estate investor. What are some of the pros and what are some of the cons associated with that? So that's what I'm going to talk about now. So will your income increase if you were a full-time investor? Yeah, I mean, would it? Hopefully it would be, because that's one of the reasons why you'll do that, is because now you kind of can focus all your attention, or your 80 hours, 40 hours a week purely on real estate investing. Hopefully that should increase your income. So just because you're doing well doesn't necessarily mean you have to quit your job. Okay, you have to have enough savings. You got to have the business systems in place, and and I'm a conservative kind of person, and I feel that don't quit too early. Make sure that you've got reserves. Make sure that you got a reliable income stream, and then maybe do that transition there. but make sure you do it for the right reasons. Just because you're upset with your boss, just because you hate the traffic to work, is not the reason, in my opinion, to quit. Okay, it's a major decision. So because once you quit, now it's on you, 100%. All that money is now on you. You can't complain about this. You can't complain about that. It's all on you, and that's a responsibility that shouldn't be sort of taken lightly. So make sure you have the budget in place, make sure you have the reserves in the bank, and make sure you have the business plan to support you. So don't just jump in. If you're ready to treat it like a business, you will quickly regret. If you don't treat it like a business, sorry, you'll quickly regret making that decision to go full time, because you're just going to be spinning your wheels and you're going to get a little upset. But if you are ready, and it's time, then go for it. Okay. But also, obviously, you got to make sure that your spouse and your family are on board. You need to have some discussions with them. That's what I had when we decided that I would go full time. It's a decision. It's a major decision. So we have family discussions, and make sure your family is totally on board with your decision. So for the first few months, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough, but it's okay if you got those things in place that we discussed earlier on. And so I would, especially if you focus on some of these short-term strategies like flipping and wholesaling, your income may not come on a regular basis. It could come in spurts and starts, or starts and spurts, I suppose. What do I mean by that is that if you're a flipper, you're not going to get any income until a deal is sold, and you're able to pay everybody off. You get whatever's left over. That could be a project every 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, or whatever it is. Okay. Same thing with the wholesaling. If you're a wholesaler doing that short-term strategy, it could take you several weeks to several months before your residual income starts coming through, or your income starts coming through. So you got to make sure that you have the reserves to tie you over through there. So, as I said before, the beauty of having a full-time job is the fact that it allows you to qualify for loans a lot easier, because most banks and financial institutions want 2 to 3 years with tax returns, and to demonstrate the fact that you got a reliable income stream coming through. So to qualify for loans as an entrepreneur, you do need to provide documentation of 2 to 3 years of steady income. So it may be better to wait a little longer. Start pulling that reserves together. Keep your expenses low. If you can do a house hack, that'll be good. Save. And then, make sure that you can support yourself and your family for several months. And then if you figured out a way whereby you can get a steady stream of income, then you may want to consider that point, but only at that point as well. So take the time to wait until you're fully ready before you get going in as a full-time investor, is my opinion. So as the market shifts, it's a very uncertain market, and this is not the time, in my opinion, to be getting too aggressive in terms of jumping ship and going full time. If you can do that, fine, but make sure you have the financial resources and the savings, to be able to withstand some turbulence and some difficulties, because you don't want to be the guy standing up, as the saying goes, when the music stops. You don't. It's not pretty, and so on. Okay, that's pretty much it for today. Kind of kept it short. It's about 7:30, so I'm going to go to Q&A very shortly, and hopefully got some questions, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. But talking about that, one of the things which I'm going to be doing for those people who are serious, for those people who are ready to buy, I want to kind of transition some of my business activities to helping those folks, help those folks to become successful in terms of leveraging my systems, my relationships, my team, my financial relationships, my relationships with deal sources, whether it be real estate agents, brokers, or wholesalers, leverage my relationships with the various housing authorities, such that this is the time to buy, because a lot of houses are on sale right now. There's not much traffic going on. And so if you are ready, you can probably get some good deals. And that's what I want to do. If you are ready, I want to make sure that I can be available to help you on your journey to execution and so on. So if you're interested in something, maybe a part of your team or you being a part of what I'm doing, shoot me an email and Joe Asamoah, and I'll be more than happy to talk and see what we can do, how I can be of assistance on your journey as well. So let's go to the chat box. So again, enter your questions in the chat box, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. So let's have a look. Paul, good evening. How would you set, this is from Paul Callins, how would you set up a lease if 2023 former is about, 2023 fair market rent is about $425 a month higher than the current fair market rent, and you have, let's see if I can put this up in the screen. Okay, so this is from Paul. How would you set up a lease if 2023 fair market rent is about $425 a month higher than the current fair market rent, and you have an empty home? I'm almost finishing renovating. Would you rent at 2023 fair market rent and prorate the rent? Interesting question. Let's have a look. And you've got another caveat here. You say that it will be my first rental, and I would hate to miss out on the extra Section 8 rent if I can rent it out before 2023. It's going to be 8 bedrooms. Oh my goodness, 8 bedrooms. Oh my gosh. I've never done a house 8 bedrooms before. So let's go back to your question and see what I can break it down. So you got a property. It sounds like, it's going to be available in 2023 next year, and it's going to be about $425 higher per month than the current fair market rent. So you got a property. Let's just say the rent is $1,000. I know it's not the case. And in 2023, you can rent that thing out for $1,425. Okay, so it's currently available, or current market rent is $1,000. Sometime in next year, you think you can get a fair market rent of $1,425. Okay, I've got that part. And you have an empty home, so your property is empty. I'm almost finishing renovating, so you're rehabbing it right now, and you want to get the 2020. Well, that's where the question would be: how do you know that the fair market rent in 2023 is going to be $425? The other way I think you can know, if you're doing Section 8, is they publish what the rents are for a lot of these housing authorities, and if you feel that you can get $425 a month higher next year sometime, is it worth waiting? That's a good question. I don't know, because while the place is empty, it's costing you money. It's costing you. You got mortgage payments to make. You got holding costs which you have to make, and you want to get that place rented as soon as possible, such that you sort of stop the bleeding in terms of the cash flow, negative cash flow, and turn that asset into a performing asset. So you kind of have to do the numbers, Paul, and figure out, okay, then if I wait until next year and I'm able to get $425 a month higher rent, how long do I have to wait? And what's the opportunity cost of losing the rent until that time? The other option is to, it's difficult though, because Section 8 typically, at least for my tenants, once you sign the contract with the housing authority, at that point, after that, you can only get incremental rent increases. Unless you start a completely new contract. So if you're able to do that, you can start the contract at whatever it is today's price, wait until next year, and then start a new contract with the same tenant. I'm not too sure if you can do that wherever you are. I know in Washington, D.C., they don't usually like that. So what they do is once the tenant is in, then the rent increases that you get are incremental increases as opposed to a large $400 a month rent increases. There was a time where they used to do that, but they didn't do that anymore, especially in Washington, D.C. area. So hopefully I've answered. Let me make sure I got the second part. So again, if you got some questions, put it on. I'd be more than happy to answer them today. It will be my first rental, and I would hate to miss out on the extra Section 8. If you, I mean, again, if the numbers make sense, you can wait it out, then fine. Now the part which here is going to be 8 bedrooms. I mean, an 8-bedroom house. I don't know how many families have 8-bedroom vouchers. I've never heard of that before. I've never seen a family with an 8-bedroom voucher before. So although you may have 8 bedrooms in your house, you may not be able to find an 8-bedroom voucher holder who has a family size that big, who's going to be able to occupy your property. An 8-bedroom voucher holder is going to have a minimum, probably, I don't know, 10, 12 children. So I don't know how many people have 10, 12 children these days. I've never seen one. So that's something that you may have to do your research and make sure that there's a demand for 8-bedroom houses where you are. So I would contact the housing authority and find out, is there a large demand for 8-bedroom houses? If there are, fine. If there are not, then what could happen, Paul, is that you finish your rehab, you put the house for rent, but you don't get any takers, okay? Because nobody has, I mean, you'll get takers, but they may not have 8-bedroom vouchers. They may have 5 or 6-bedroom as opposed to 8. And you can't charge an 8-bedroom rent for somebody who has a 6-bedroom or 5-bedroom voucher. You can only charge the voucher size. Okay. So let's have a look. You come back again, Paul, and you say, thank you. I finished the basement. I called the housing authority before I started the rehab, and they say it's definitely needed. Okay. If you're saying it's needed, then who am I? You didn't say where you're calling in from, Paul. I'm curious to know where that would be. Maybe let me know. And but again, I've never seen anybody with an 8-bedroom voucher before. I'm sure they exist, but I just haven't come across that. It's sort of law of diminishing returns at some point. There's a lot of people with 2, 3, 4-bedroom vouchers. Once you start getting above that, 5, 6, 7, then the numbers go down. So it's kind of a supply and demand. So I think you said you're in Atlanta, Georgia, Paul. So maybe things are a little different in Atlanta. But yeah, it's all good. And hopefully that was helpful, Paul. And but yeah, keep us posted. Let me know how you do and whether you're going to rent it out immediately or wait until you're able to get the larger rent in 2023. And I'll be curious to know what the calculations that you went through came out, because sometimes things look good on a spreadsheet, but it's only in the real world is very different. And so getting a tenant, this is also, I want to add to that, Paul, getting someone in your house is only part one. The real money that you're likely to make is minimizing turnover. So try not to have people leaving your home once they're there, because if they leave, this is where it gets really, really expensive. You're going to have to paint the place again. You got to clean it again. You got to sort of get the place ready. You got to advertise. You got to show the house. You got to screen. You got no income coming through. You got mortgages to pay. It's very, very expensive. It's going to cost you at least 2 months lost income in terms of rent. So what you gain in terms of a little extra in terms of the rent, $400 and something, what you lose through a turnover is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's the reason why I put a lot of my attention on minimizing turnover. So that way, once someone comes to my home, I'm more likely to get them to stay. And you know the kind of things which I do. In terms of Mother's Day gifts, Christmas cards, and all that kind of stuff, this is what I do to make sure the tenants are happy. And so on. Well, let me tell you something. I said I gave the property. I accepted and selected a tenant yesterday for one of my properties in Washington, D.C. And, it's as I was going through that process of selecting a tenant, obviously I did open houses. I met with quite a few tenants. And the stories that they share with me, because one of the questions I always ask is, why are you moving? And it's very interesting to hear the different responses that people provide. And one thing is clear to me is that a lot of, especially Section 8 voucher holders, they live in kind of marginal neighborhoods. Let's just put it that way. Areas where they're not particularly happy with, but many times they're the only landlords that'll accept the voucher. So they're kind of limited to where they can live. That's number one. The neighborhood is so many times they don't like the neighborhood where they live. Another thing is they don't like the particular house that they're in. And then thirdly, they don't particularly like the landlord that they're renting from. So one of the things which is clear to me is that if you can figure a way whereby you can make your house attractive, decent, in a decent neighborhood, you can stand out and you can get lots and lots of applications. When you have lots of applications, then you can be a bit more choosy on who you select. Okay, you don't have to be desperate, and so on. So okay, so that's hopefully I've answered that question, Paul. So if you got some more questions for me, anybody else, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer those. Let me give you a conversation I had yesterday. I was networking with a real estate agent. He shared with me an article which indicated that the market could crash. And they also indicated that housing financing or applications is down significantly, 30 or 40%. I see that as a double-edged sword. I see that as an opportunity to buy. I feel that the best time to get into real estate, the best time to buy real estate is when real estate is on sale. And, in some situations, some cities, some areas, the prices have kind of gone down a little bit. It may go down a bit more, but real estate could become on sale soon. The market will come back in time. We know that. History tells us. So if you want to get in and you feel that you have the ability to ride the storm, then the best time to get in is when real estate is for sale. And it is for sale, and it will be for sale for a little time longer. So for those people who want to get in, now is the time. The window of opportunity is currently open, and it will close at some point. Okay, let's have a look. What did Paul say? Thank you again. I have been watching you for a long time, and I really like your approach to Section 8. Well, make sure you keep us posted, Paul. I'm very curious to know how things kind of shake out and so on. Okay, let's have a look. Next question is from Alejandro. And hi, Dr. Joe. Have you ever done Section 8 in Prince George's County? I was wondering if that area has similar demand as DC for vouchers. And then part two is, I also sent you an email. Looking forward to connecting with you. Okay, I haven't seen your email yet, Alejandro. I don't know when you sent it, but I'll be more than happy to check it out and so on. Let's have a look. So let's go back to the first part of his question. Let's read it again. There it is. Okay. Have you ever done Section 8 in Prince George's County? Yes, I have. I have some properties, In Prince George's County, for those people who don't know, it's a suburb just outside Washington, D.C., on the eastern side of Washington, D.C., the southern and eastern side of Washington, D.C., and it's in Maryland. And, people like Prince George's County because it's slightly cheaper than Washington, and it's within the Washington metropolitan area, Washington Metro. And so I think it's a great county to invest in. Although I invest there, most of my investments are actually in Washington, D.C. I do know the director for the Housing Authority in Prince George's County. Great guy, and he used to work for Washington, D.C. That's where I got to know him. But he's now in Prince George's County. Okay, so the first part of the question, yes, I have done investing in Prince George's. I was wondering if that area has similar demand as DC for voucher holders. Yes, there are voucher holders in Prince George's County. I don't think it's as strong as Washington, D.C. in terms of vouchers, because the reason why I say that is because there are more vouchers. There are more voucher holders in Washington, D.C. than there are, my understanding, than Prince George's County. I could be wrong there, but I think there are more voucher holders in Washington, D.C. That's number one. And there are two types of vouchers. There's the HUD, or the federal voucher, which is funded through Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. But also the thing about Washington is that there are a lot of voucher holders who vouchers are funded by the District of Columbia government. So there's a lot of vouchers, a lot more vouchers in Washington, D.C., because the sources of the money is from the federal government, also from the city or the local government. And there's just a crisis, a shortage of housing. The population in Washington, D.C. is increasing. The demand is increasing for rentals, but the supply is not. So what's it called? So, the demand is high everywhere, Alejandro. The only thing is that my personal opinion, I think that the demand in Washington, D.C. for housing is a lot more stronger than Prince George, just by the fact that land is a lot more restricted in Washington, D.C., whereas in the counties, in the suburbs, there's plenty of land, and it can grow, whereas Washington, D.C. can't grow. It's bordered by Maryland and Virginia. So, but the program is strong. I've never had an issue renting my properties to voucher holders in Prince George's County. And I've had some great tenants. I have some great tenants in Prince George's County that have vouchers. And, so I don't think it should be an issue. The way that they price the rents in Prince George's County is based on the zip code. Same thing in Montgomery County, the other side of Washington, D.C. It's all about the zip code. Whereas in Washington, D.C., the rent that you get is based on the neighborhood. That's the main difference between and so on. Let's have a look. Okay. So I look forward to connecting with you, Alejandro, and so on. Let's have a look. Next question. This is from Johnny. Dr. Joe, using your method, I found the best tenant. Oh, okay. Is this Johnny that I think in Washington, D.C., you got a house? I think my wife staged your house for you. And if it is, congratulations, Johnny. I'm glad that you're able to use my systems and find, in your words anyway, I found the best tenant. The best tenants. So let me know what kind of tenant you found, and how did it go? How did that whole process go in terms of marketing for the tenant, screening the tenant, and then finally selecting the tenant, and so on. So yeah, let's have a look. What does he say? Thank you for the information. And yep, okay. So congratulations, Johnny. All right. Make sure that you tell the world that Dr. Joe helped you. And Johnny, I think if I can share with the group, Johnny, it's my understanding that you had this house in Washington, D.C., It was renovated, and then you rented it out to market renters. Okay, so Johnny had market renters, not Section 8. Then he joined the JV program, where I was sort of sharing about the singing the praises of Section 8. So, but at that point, he'd already rented it to a market renter or market renters. And it's my understanding, I think about a year they were there and then they left. So, which is not unusual for market renters. They don't stay that long. I think your previous tenant didn't stay that long. They were there for a year and then they left. So you're down to another turnover, which, as you know, can be very, very expensive. So I think that you did some renovations to upgrade the house and to add the more bedrooms. And as my understanding, I think you made it into a 5-bedroom house now. And my wife staged your home, and you put it up for market. You did the marketing, and it sounds like you have found a tenant. So congratulations. Next thing, obviously, you're doing is to fill out the paperwork for the what they call the request for tenancy approval, RFTA. You're going to submit that to the housing authority, and then hopefully they'll schedule an inspection, and then hopefully your tenant will move in. Depending on when you submitted the paperwork to the housing authority, it will determine whether the tenant moves in there January the 1st or December the 1st. Hopefully it'll be December the 1st, and that way you can kind of close out that project. So congratulations again, Johnny, and so on. Okay, so if you got some more questions, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Let's have a look. Just 1 second. Yeah, I think what's it called? I'm gonna kind of maybe call it early today. I've had a long day, I've had a long week, and I didn't tell you a story. Crazy story. I was before I went to the Caribbean. I one day I was going to go to Washington D.C., so I drove down to D.C. and and I was at a traffic light waiting for the light to go from red to green. So I was waiting, and then suddenly I heard the sirens for a police car in the background. I looked in my wing mirror and I saw this flashing lights. No big deal. I was at a traffic light waiting, and so this police car zoomed right by me and did a turn, kind of cut me off and smashed into my car. Can you believe that? I was at a light and I got hit by a police car, and and totaled my car. So my car is totaled. I was just going about my business, and next thing I know, my car is struck, and the police officer accepted responsibility, because I was stationary at the light. But it's horrible, and in the sense that I now have to get a new vehicle. The amount of money I'm going to get from the insurance company is less than than I thought, which means I'm going to be out of pocket to get a car. All for doing nothing. Can you believe that? So yeah, it's a crazy. But the good thing is that I wasn't hurt. I mean, cars obviously are replaceable. I wasn't hurt, but it was very disappointing and a little upsetting, really. And that these things happen in a blink of an eye. This happened. But as I say, you roll with the punches and keep going. So that's the way it goes. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Again, special request to Nick. I had a great time talking a couple of days ago about strategy. In fact, it was yesterday about some opportunities that we're going to be doing in the what's it called as the market shifts. So I'm looking forward. I'm really, really looking forward to some buying opportunities. So again, for those people who are looking to buy, because property is going to be on sale, and if you can hold on to the asset until the market comes back, which could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years or whatever it is, now is the time to buy. And I just want to start working with a small number of people who are serious, who are buying, and then helping those. So I'm not going to do as many courses anymore. But I'll be doing more of these sort of helping those people who are pulling the trigger. The way I see it is that there's a window of opportunity. The window is open right now. At some point, the window will close, and I just strongly believe that, based on my experience, when the market comes back, people will regret not buying when the demand was low, when the opportunity was there, when stuff was on sale. So for those folks who are looking to take advantage of some of the buying opportunities, let me know, and you can see how we can work together to leverage all my systems, my relationships, and so that way you can buy another one or two while the window is still open. So with that said, my friends, I am going to wrap things up for the day. I'm going to get myself an early night. Yeah, Johnny, glad you were safe. That was crazy. It sure was crazy. You're just sitting there minding your own business, and boom. And the last thing you want to hear from the last people you thought it would be was the police car. It's being hit by a police car. I swear, what could have been worse is me hitting the police car. So at least it wasn't me hitting the police car. That would have been a disaster. But still, they hit me, and so I got to get my rental cars and so on. So sorry to hear that. Hope everything works out okay in the end. It will do. It's just the material stuff. I mean, I'm not really into cars, so that's not a big deal. So I'm looking forward to doing more travel, though. And maybe next time I'll share with you some of my goals for 2023. My goal, one of the goals is really to do a lot more travel. I intend to go to 3 countries next year and so on. Anyway, enough for today. Hope everyone had a good session. I hope this was informative. And I will see you next Wednesday at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Have yourself a wonderful evening. Take care. Bye for now.